I felt a disturbance in the force, and no, it's not the Sith or Darth Vader, but I did sense another famous franchise releasing a sequel into theaters, bound to fail. Back in August of 2020, Morgan Creek Entertainment, the rights owners of the Exorcist franchise, announced they would be producing another sequel set for the release of 2021. Wait a minute, when was the last release from this franchise? Dominion, prequel to The Exorcist, was released back in 2005 on Warner Brothers. It was a commercial failure and failed with the audience and critics. Alright, let's keep it moving now. Later 2020, it was reported that the new project will be a sequel to the original film, with Jason Blum of Blumhouse set to become one of the producers of said project. 2021, it was announced a trilogy of films are to be released with a now combination of Morgan Creek Entertainment, Blumhouse Productions, and Universal working on the project. The kick for Universal collaborated with its streaming service, the Peacock, to buy the rights for $400 million, with the 2-3 films in the new trilogy to be potential Peacock exclusive films. $4 million, eh? Okay, bring back the original actresses of the original film, along with newcomers as usual, to be cast in said film. On October 6, Exorcist Believers released to theaters with a production budget of $30 million. So far, it's made $53.2 million. But this film is going to face several problems, especially now that it has been released. Well, now seeing various videos from fellow YouTubers and reading the critics reporting about this film's terrible plot and said wokeness never spells great for franchises. Never does, never will, and it never will work. But anyways, I digress. Ollie Richards of Empire called Ellen Burstyn, the actress who played Chris McNeil in the film, described her role as gimmicky rather than essential, and sets the film on a cheesier path of callbacks, winks, and attempts to one-up the original. And because of Tribute Act, its own personality shrinking in the shadow of a classic. That quote there by Mr. Richards cannot just describe Exorcist Believer, but it can also describe the roles of Jamie Lee Curtis in the newer Halloween films, also done by Blumhouse, the Star Wars trio with the Star Wars sequel trilogy, the Jurassic Park trio and the Jurassic World Dominion, and the Ono in Terminator Dark Fate and Genesis. Now, what those all have in common? We all know what those have in common, do we? They sucked. The sequel trilogy for Star Wars made Star Wars a hollow corpse that continues to be beaten and sucks for its limited resources. Jurassic World Dominion made me question the whole entire franchise's existence, and Halloween sequels were subpar or worse. And Terminator, don't get me started on how that failed. Speaking of failure, Hollywood has yet failed again. I don't know what's up with these studios with obsession with going back to old franchises, attempting to revive it by releasing a direct sequel to the original film, ignoring the other films released in the past. Now, this has happened with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Halloween, and Terminator franchises. Now, Universal, Morgan Creek Entertainment, and Blumhouse want to make a sequel trilogy. Yeah, sequel trilogies have worked out so great in the past. But let me tell you the reason why The Exorcist Believer and other films like it will never work as planned. But these are just all my opinion. Don't take my word for it. I'm being real, I'm not being sarcastic. Don't take my word for it. I don't know why writers, directors, producers think they can outshine the original film and said franchises. With films like The Exorcist 1973 or the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, it's hard to capture lightning in a bottle twice. When these films were released, it was practically new to the audience. Something that wasn't seen before by audience. Scaring the audience, capturing the minds and attentions with ideas that seemed far-fetched and alien. When The Exorcist 1973 was released, critics described the film as something that was never seen before, scaring the hell out of everyone. It did see mixed reviews. This film right here, Exorcist the Believer, tried to copy the essence of the original, and it fell hard. Bam. Calling it a copycat, a cheesy production, callbacks, which is something all these franchises do, particularly the ones in Disney, Star Wars and Indiana Jones. They always try to go back to callbacks. You remember that? You remember that? You remember that from the original, and it never works. Yeah, we remember it. Try something new now. 50 years since, and all these possession, or I should say demonic possession films, are starting to look the same. There has been so many that tried to be or come close to the fanfare of the original Exorcist. Some of these films have done well, Conjuring and others, and some have stumbled across the finish line. Plus, I think these whole demon possession films have become too gimmicky and predictable and based on jump scares, and I'm not a big fan of demonic possession horror films at all, myself. But to continue on, usually these films, like The Exorcist, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and I guess you can put a jump in there, Terminator Dark Fate, they always contain poor writing, with various attempts to throw in something stupid about some agenda politic like race or gender, and that always seems to work for some reason in their eyes. It doesn't. And the fanfare around this said film, Exorcist believers evaporating. Well, was there anyone really wanting to see another Exorcist sequel? Where you have all these Conjuring-like films coming out? Did anybody really want to see that? And the point on Conjuring, The Nun 2, I don't know. But anyways, well, Universal put $400 million into this franchise, future films being released on the Peacock. At this point, it seems like a failure. That's $400 million wasted. Shwasted, not wasted, shwasted, it seems like. I'm sure it made $52 million back in returns, of course, but after the release of this film, will this film have enough legs to carry itself in another 2 films? Will this franchise even carry on? Does anybody even want to see anything else out of it? Well, time will tell. We'll see.